This is CBC Here and Now.
Hurricane Chris is barreling towards the island.
Not too severe at Kitty Lake just yet, but the city's preparing for the worst.
Dash cams like this one are catching dangerous drivers across the province. That footage coming up.
Good evening, I'm Debbie Cooper.
And I'm Mariana Kelland.
And let's get to our top story. Post-tropical storm Chris has brought windy, wet weather to the western Avalon today, and it's not over yet.
Right, it's expected to make landfall near Cape St. Mary's and across the Avalon this evening. Here Now's Jeremy Eaton is out in the thick of it. Jeremy, how's it looking out there?
Well, the wind is starting to pick up here at Kitty Lake. A little bit of rain is falling, and as you can see behind me, it's awfully foggy. Now, heavy rainfall amounts are expected on the eastern part of the island. Now, you mix that with high winds, and you could have a lot of trouble. Now, other than some heavy rainfall spurts, St. John's hasn't been hit too hard, but that's not the case outside of the capital city. So Terra Nova and areas around it started seeing rain around 8:30 this morning. Parts of the northern and southeastern Avalon could see between 40 to 80 millimeters of rain. In this Twitter video from CBC reporter Chris O'Neill Yates, you can see the rain hammering down on the highway near Gooby's Junction. Now, Kevin Kelly shot this video of the rain pouring down in Marystown. Large rainfall amounts are also expected along the Bonavista and Burin peninsulas. Now, Environment Canada still has multiple warnings in place for the eastern part of Newfoundland and Labrador. And in the hour that we've been down here at Kitty Lake, the fog has definitely come in. It's definitely gotten a lot windier, so it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. But that's something that Carolyn Stokes can tell you more about. Carolyn?
Thanks, Jeremy, and try to stay dry out there tonight. That's Here Now's Jeremy Eaton reporting live. We'll check back with him a little bit later in the show. And as you heard Jeremy say, there are multiple warnings in effect from Environment Canada tonight, and that's where I'm going to start. We still have the rainfall warning in effect for the Conagra up through Terra Nova and Bonavista area. There's this swath of heavy rain that has been going through that area of the province throughout the day today, 40 to 70 millimeters by the time it's all said and done. The heaviest rain is expected to continue tonight in the northeastern part of the island there, and we also have this wind warning in effect for the southern Avalon up through St. John's. Could see gusts up to 110 kilometers an hour along the coastline. So this is Chris making its way across the island tonight. This is the past few hours. You can see on the Avalon Peninsula those patchy scattered showers. So not a lot of heavy rainfall on the Avalon. Most of the rainfall has been west of the Avalon Peninsula, and it's going to continue tonight. As I mentioned, you can see this heavier rainfall moving up towards Gander, Clarenville, Bonavista. Another 40 to 50 millimeters of rain expected there tonight. So it's certainly not over yet. But in the east, it's really the winds that will be affecting the Avalon Peninsula. You can see at about 9 o'clock, we're looking at gusts of 75 there along the Burin and the St. John's area. So it's going to be another couple of hours yet before we start to see those heavy winds, and it will move through quickly. And tomorrow we're looking at quite a nice day, actually.
Well, as the saying goes, one person's trash is another person's treasure, but not here at the Happy Valley Goose Bay landfill. Scavenging has become a problem here, according to the town, and it's looking for ways to crack down. I'll have more on that coming up on Here Now.
Nakamik, thank you. This is truly a historic day.
A celebration for Nunatuavut in Labrador. Formal talks over land rights will start with the federal government.
But that's upset the Innu Nation. That story in 5 minutes. Well, 2 brazen highway drivers have been caught on dashcam video making risky, high-speed maneuvers, and the footage was taken just days apart on the TCH. Here Now's Katie Breen reports.
Looks like your average drive. Evening rush hour heading from St. John's to Spaniards Bay until a motorcycle races past straight up the dashed line.
First thought was there was something seriously wrong with it. And then I felt really angry that, you know, he would do something so stupid.
Amy Richards recorded the video. She figures the motorcycle rider was going about 130, and there would have been serious repercussions if any of the vehicles collided.
I think we would have all been dead. Absolutely.
Motorcycle instructor Roger Cooper agrees.
That is just crazy to me. I don't know why anybody would do it. They're putting everybody in danger, themselves, the car drivers, and it gives bikers a bad name.
He preaches safety in his course because the risk can be high even without reckless driving.
It only takes a pebble or a rut in the roadway or anything else, and that bike can be gone and you can be dead.
Bikes get a bad rap, but drivers behind the wheel of regular cars, they do risky things too.
Like this, video taken Sunday on the highway outside Grand Falls, Windsor.
They were coming straight on to us. Luckily, we had a wide shoulder to pull over on, and we had a bit of time. It all happened so fast because we were going 100 kilometers per hour, but it was just surreal. It was pretty scary, and we were lucky it wasn't worse, and we had time to pull over.
We do too much at one time, and I think we're seeing the results of it with the fatalities on the highways.
Different stretches of highway, days apart. Driving on our roadways only getting worse, according to the women who recorded the videos. So while nobody was hurt in either case, Richard and Hines are keeping their dash cams rolling in case incidents ever turn into accidents. Katie Breen, CBC News, St. John's.
This was the scene Wednesday night in the St. John's neighborhood of Shea Heights. Jeanette Kinney posted this video to Facebook. She said it is the second vehicle fire on the same stretch of road in the past month. There's no word on whether the driver was injured.
The crew aboard a shrimp boat in Happy Valley Goose Bay leapt into action last night to rescue two men whose float plane crashed into the water. It happened near the government dock. Both men are said to be in good shape and good spirits today. The plane is currently resting upside down in about 18 meters of water. It will be marked and anchored so other planes and boats in the area can see it. And as for the fishermen who rescued them, well, they just happened to be on their boat staying overnight to get an early start this morning.
Well, I've seen a few live there, pontoons up in the water and the two wings alongside of her, and no sign of anybody.
How were the guys when you got them onto the boat?
They wasn't in very good shape, or we didn't think they was. It was not in very good shape. They were cold and frightened. And I guess in shock, I call it. Shock, they were in shock. In shock, you know,
yeah.
That's what it looked like, eh?
Now to another plane crash in Alaska where everyone survived. The U.S. Coast Guard hoisted 11 people to safety after a float-equipped de Havilland otter crashed on the side of a mountain Tuesday night. Rescuers said visibility was only half a kilometer, but they were aided by an emergency beacon locator on the aircraft. The 72-year-old pilot of the plane called in the crash, and no one was seriously hurt on the chartered flight.
Meanwhile, some pilots in this province are being promised a clear pathway to the top of the industry. Exploits Valley Air Services announced an agreement with Jazz Airlines today. It means Jazz will send some recruits to the Gander-based airline and will also hire pilots from Aviation who want to move on to bigger operations. Aviation is the fourth regional airline to sign on to the partnership. Officials say it clears the way for pilots to advance their careers.
There are some in the industry that see the ultimate as sitting in the left seat of a 737, 747, or a 777 or Dreamliner 787. And we want to make sure that the employees and the people that come into Aviation Air have access to those opportunities should they decide to go.
The Newfoundland Growlers have their first player. St. John's native Marcus Power signed a one-year contract with the ECHL team. Power played Quebec Major Junior Hockey until 2014. Then he took to the ice with the University of Prince Edward Island Panthers. The Growlers kick off their inaugural season on October 12th.
Well, as Nunatuavut was celebrating the announcement that talks over Indigenous rights and land self-determination would be formalized with the federal government, the Innu Nation leadership says it's concerned how those talks will affect their land claim process, and they question the identity of the Nunatuavut people. Here Now's Jacob Barker is live tonight. Well, Jacob, what happened today?
Well, Ariana, the event here today was one of celebration, and plenty of Nunatuavut members showed up, saying this step of recognition from the Canadian government is one that is long awaited.
This is not foreign land that we stand on. We stand on our own land.
The room overflowed at Nunatuavut offices in Happy Valley Goose Bay today. President Russell, alongside Minister of Crown, Indigenous Relations and Northern Affairs Carolyn Bennett, announcing their formalized discussions.
That's what we're about here today. That we are a First Peoples of this land, and we have rights in this land.
How we now move forward in a spirit of collaboration and renewal, and as was said, to advance this shared journey of reconciliation.
Nunatuavut has been working on a land claim with the federal government since 1991, though they didn't use the words land claim in their speeches today. Russell says land rights are a priority.
Land is absolutely important to us, and at some point it will end up as a negotiation at a negotiating table.
With two other Indigenous groups in the area, Bennett recognizes there will be issues of overlapping interests.
We are obviously very keen to work closely with other Indigenous groups in Labrador to ensure that we can find a common way forward that meets the needs and interests of all groups.
The Innu Nation did not take well to today's announcements, slamming the federal minister, saying she hadn't told them about the meeting. They are concerned with how the talks with Nunatuavut will affect their own land claims process.
We're into our final stages. Now a new group has come onto the table. Now it's going to be a real mess for land claims negotiations in Labrador for the next probably 30 years.
Pinashaway going so far as to question the Indigenous identity of the Nunatuavut people.
But now here we are in a very unusual circumstance. Settlers becoming Métis, becoming Inuit, and now are going to fight us over land. That's a very unusual case.
Well, the Innu Nation went on to call today's announcement a slap in the face and demanded an explanation from the minister of how the talks would affect their land claim. Earlier in the day, President Russell had said that if the Innu were interested in sitting at the table to discuss the overlap issues, that would be a positive thing. Reporting live for Here and Now in Happy Valley Goose Bay, I'm Jacob Barker.
A year ago, Constable Kelsey Abu didn't know if she would stick with the RNC, but with the help of Harvey, she's back in the force. We'll tell you their story coming up on Here and Now.
Welcome back. Well, we have an update tonight on a story Here and Now brought to you last year. In September 2017, Constable Kelsey Aboud was ready to throw in the towel. Diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder 2 years earlier, it appeared as though her career with the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary was over. Well, as we'll show you in a little later, she's found happiness at a stable in St. John's.
Working on street patrol, I was first responder to many fatalities, a lot of death, a lot of child abuse, sexual assaults, which were very traumatic. Even if you're not the first responders to certain calls, you can be vicariously traumatized by hearing about them. And I worked in what we had an investigative interviewing unit, and so I was always interviewing people that were suffering from traumatic incidences. The CBS shooting being one of them, the double homicide. All of that stuff builds up and your resilience just gets lower and lower, and it just builds and builds and builds over time, and until you finally crash. I didn't know how my bills were going to get paid. I didn't know I had to sell my house. I didn't know. I ran out of all my sick leave at work. I ran out of my annual leave at work. And here I was, not well enough to go to work, but I didn't have any option.
This is Harvey the horse. We are at the RNC stables at Government House, and I'm with Constable Kelsey Aboud. So Kelsey, last time we spoke, you were in a totally different place. What has changed since then?
My career has just taken off into a whole different direction with these horses, and just been given opportunities that I never thought were going to present themselves. I'm actually I'm down here with the mounted unit. I've been here since January, and this time last year I didn't even know if I was going to have a career with the RNC. I had thought about quitting and moving, getting transferred to another division. But now this is my dream job. I feel like I found my place where I'm supposed to be.
So you have post-traumatic stress disorder, and you spoke openly about it.
Yes.
How is that being down here and you're with Harvey? Is this therapeutic for you?
Oh my gosh, it is so therapeutic. It makes me want to come into work. I'm a huge animal lover, so just coming down here and being around the horses every day is just in itself, it has this calmness. They bring this calmness about them. They just have such a gentle demeanor, and no matter what kind of day you're having, you come down here, they're here, and they just make you they'll just make you smile and forget all of your troubles, you know?
So tell me what an average day looks like for you and Harvey. What would you do? What would you guys do around town?
We go on a patrol. Usually myself, would be myself and another member. Constable Haran is my partner right now. So we go down, patrol any area that's going on. We also would do any missing person searches, ground searches. We can avail of, you know, any of those issues as well, but we do a lot of community stuff, a lot of PR stuff.
Harvey is therapeutic for you, so where do you see horses in the grand scheme of things when it comes to helping other people?
Well, the RNC is actually in the process of implementing a program with Avalon Equestrian Center, and we're going to deliver equine therapy, so basically animal-assisted therapy using our horses, and that will target individuals with post-traumatic stress disorder, any other mental health issues, addictions, you know, anything basically along those lines. We'll be able to try to help, because we know, and it's been proven, that they can definitely have that healing effect.
Yeah. And about you right now, I mean, how are you feeling?
I feel wonderful. I honestly feel like, I've said it a few times, I feel like when I just came out of the police academy 15 years ago, when you're happy and you're full energy and everything, and I just feel like my career I feel like a new person, honestly. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, as you saw there, horses have the power to heal, and Kelsey Aboud is hoping that Harvey can help others like her.
Struck by how good she looks today, and sounds wonderful as well. Now, horses are also proving their worth at a palliative care center in Charlottetown, PEI. A Norwegian fjord horse has turned out to be a very good fit for patients and their families. Nicole Williams has that story.
Billy the horse is no stranger at the palliative care center in Charlottetown. He comes once a week, stopping out front to be pet, hugged and brushed, to provide a different kind of therapy to patients.
Having a horse to visit is something out of the ordinary that happens here, and it gives you something to talk about. It gives people something to care about, something else to think about, something to talk about with their family or staff, and it's very different than their everyday life here.
McNiven says Billy is the perfect animal for the job, all 1,000 pounds of him. Horses have heightened senses that make them more aware of their surroundings, and it makes them good at being in tune with people nearby. For the patients at the center, the 16-year-old Norwegian fjord horse has been making a big difference.
The patients love Billy's visits. It's a calming effect. It's the highlight of the week for some folks. You know, we've had patients that have gotten right up out of bed and went to the window to see him and put their face against the window, and Billy had his face there. They've really connected.
Kerry McKenna is one of those patients. He's been spending time with Billy since he started visiting the center 3 years ago, and says the horse has meant a lot to him during his time as a patient.
It gives me a great sense of relaxation and takes away my thoughts of brain cancer, which I had for almost 5 years now.
And it's more than just therapy for patients. Students working with McNiven are conducting research on Billy's visits to figure out the effects of horses on palliative care patients, but also to see how the visits affect Billy himself.
So she puts a heart rate monitor on Billy and measures his heart, the changes in his heart rate during transport, well, before he leaves, getting him ready, transport, while he's here.
She says so far the results show that Billy is most calm when he's at the palliative care center, and that he enjoys being with the patients as much as they enjoy being with him. Nicole Williams, CBC News, Charlottetown.
That is sweet.
It is.
And I can say that being there this morning with Constable Aboud, it was so relaxing, and I can imagine why she feels so good being in that line of work. So good for them.
Yeah, very interesting.
Our update is brought to you by Take Charge Business Efficiency Program. Over 570 businesses have saved energy and taken charge of their bottom line. Find out how you can too.
Welcome back, everyone, and we're going to get an update now on the weather forecast with Carolyn. Not a whole lot of rain in our neck of the woods, but that was a different case elsewhere.
Oh, absolutely. Just west of the Avalon is really where the rain has hit throughout today and continuing into tonight. In St. John's, we had a few little downpours, but overall it was a pretty quiet day. So let's see how this is going to play out overnight tonight. Here's a look at Chris over the past few hours. So you can see it hasn't quite made landfall yet. The center of the storm has not quite made landfall, but certainly the effects of Chris have been felt across the island today. We still have a rainfall warning in effect for the Conegra up through Terra Nova and Bonavista, and it's the northeastern part of the island tonight that we'll be seeing the heaviest rains. It's starting to die down a little bit along the south coast, about another 10 to 20 millimeters of rain expected there tonight, so it's not quite over yet, but not as heavy as it has been earlier. And once again, we do have that wind warning in effect for parts of the Avalon. That's really what is going to be felt in this neck of the woods, is the wind ramping up over the next few hours. So it's kind of hard to tell with all of this color here, but this is the Avalon Peninsula here. We have the Burin Peninsula here, and all of this red and yellow, that's the heaviest rain. So that's what's coming down now. You can see that it's tracking northwards throughout the night tonight. By 9 o'clock, it'll really be coming down around the Gander, Clarenville, Bonavista area. Another 40 to 50 millimeters of rain expected there, but you can see down here still coming down throughout the night tonight on the Avalon Peninsula, looking at about 10, maybe 20 millimeters of rain tonight before it all starts to move off overnight tonight. So by tomorrow morning, it'll be quite nice. So as I mentioned, the wind's really the factor here in the most eastern part of the island. So over the next few hours, we'll see it pick up steadily as the center of the storm moves over top of the Burin Peninsula and the Avalon Peninsula. So you can see gusts up to 70. Along the coast, it's going to be much stronger as well. So southeasterly winds, 60 gusting to 90, but it could get up to 110 along the coastline there. And as I mentioned, 40, 50 millimeters of rain still to come for the Bonavista, Terra Nova area. And you can see here this risk of thunder and lightning tonight. So there's also that to watch for. On the Avalon, we could see about 10 millimeters of rain, about 10 to 20 millimeters of rain still expected for the Marystown area. So this is a look at Friday, and quite a difference. Really not much going on. Clear skies for the most part for everybody. So this is what we're looking at tomorrow. Some nice warm temperatures in central and the west, a little bit cooler in the east, 18 degrees as the high there as we head into the weekend, but those winds will be dying down significantly. Labrador looking at a fine day with some hot temperatures, 28 degrees in Happy Valley Goose Bay, and very, very calm winds as well. So a quick look at Saturday so far. It's shaping up to be pretty nice. There is a chance that there could be a few showers moving in later on Saturday. I'll have those details a bit later. And while Chris hasn't really hit St. John's yet, it did cause some delays for rowers gearing up for the Royal St. John's Regatta. So we'll go back now to Kittiviti, where here now's Jeremy Eaton is right now. So Jeremy, how has the storm that hasn't quite hit the city yet affected rowing?
Well, the 200th running of the Royal St. John's Regatta is just weeks away, and crews want to get as much time as possible practicing here on the water at Kittiviti Lake. But the forecast was calling for a lot of rain to fall on St. John's, and anyone who's been down around here during a heavy rainfall spell knows that there can be a little bit of flooding. So the city took a preemptive measure and it lowered its damming system here, and that allowed a bit of the water to drain out of the lake. Good news for the lake and for flooding, bad news for rowers. Because of the limited amounts of water in the pond now, they couldn't put boats on the water today, despite it being quite a nice day in St. John's. Now, I did speak to some rowers earlier today who are a little bit upset about this decision, but they understand in the overall scheme of things. Now, as for the city, it is prepared for the worst. Multiple sandbags are ready to go if called upon. Catch basins and culverts were cleaned out yesterday and today, and there's a lot of equipment gassed up and ready to go if needed. So the city is ready, and it put out notices to make sure that residents were ready as well. Now, in the last little while, it's gotten darker down here. The rain is starting to pick up, and the wind is still there, and I'm starting to get wet. So I'm going to go inside and dry off, and I'm going to let you guys keep an eye on the storm from here on out. Reporting live for Here and Now, I'm Jeremy Eaton at Kitty Vitty Lake in St. John's.
Thanks very much to Jeremy Eaton. Tonight, the Human Rights Commission is weighing in after our story last night about the death of an inmate at Her Majesty's Penitentiary. Last night, 2 inmates spoke out about the death of Chris Sutton. He died by suicide inside the prison last month. Here and Now's Malone Mullen reports.
This letter, penned by an inmate in need of help, has sparked more talks between government and the Human Rights Commission. Chris Sutton wanted to know about segregation rules and wondered about his rights to exercise and fresh air 5 days before he took his own life. 2 inmates inside the pen say this room is where Sutton asked to be sent the day he died. It's where inmates end up when they're considered a danger to themselves or others.
He's the type of person in this jail that spends a lot of time in and out of the hole and suicide watch and stuff.
Inmates say Sutton wasn't sent to segregation, but was put back in his cell alone. The Department of Justice said the province has a strict policy for inmates at risk of hurting themselves. They need to be monitored around the clock in a room with a camera. And according to inmates, that room in this facility is the hole. Sutton didn't die here. He was in a regular cell. So there's the dilemma. Some groups don't want to see inmates in segregation for medical reasons because it violates their rights, but they want them kept safe and under watch.
There's a difference between suicide watch, which would protect somebody's life and make sure that they're observed at all times, and denying them basic human rights, such as placing them in a cell with very little comforts. They may be subjected to 24-hour lighting. They would not have adequate exercise. They would not receive any stimulation, such as audio or video, or any sort of visitors.
Kim Mackay says she was assured by the province no inmates at risk of suicide were going to segregation, but that could mean they have nowhere else to go. It puts the guards in a sticky situation: keep the inmate in his cell unmonitored or send him to the hole, which Sutton called the worst punishment a person can endure in a Canadian prison. Mackay wants that to end.
There's 4 inmates or people, Samantha Piercy, Sky Martin, Doug Neary, and now Chris Sutton, who are dead. So somebody has to speak for them.
Malone Mullen, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, a Chase the Ace took a sour turn today in Nova Scotia. An aunt and a nephew were the big winners of more than $1.2 million. Sounds good, but when they went to pick up the prize, things got interesting. The CBC's Gary Mansfield captured it all as it unfolded.
Here's Ace of Spades.
It was all smiles after Barb Reddick and her nephew Tyrone McGuinness picked up their big win, $1.2 million Chase the Ace jackpot. But it didn't take long for things to turn sour when both were handed separate checks for $600,000.
Chase the Ace winners is going to court. I'm taking him to court. It was my ticket.
Why's that?
Because I bought the ticket. And now he's trying to lie and say I said split. I said split with the 50-50, not with no Chase the Ace. I'm taking him to court. I'm getting my lawyer tomorrow.
Both names were on the winning ticket. Reddick says she only agreed to split the consolation prize and not the jackpot if the ace was drawn.
I put his name on the thing. I told him for good luck. Now he's lying. But I'm taking it to court. I'm serious. I'm getting a lawyer tomorrow.
Whose name was on the ticket?
Me and Tyrone.
You and Tyrone's ticket?
I put his name on the ticket for good luck.
Why did you do that?
Because he's like a son to me. He was.
I can't really explain it. I didn't really expect anything like that to happen. I just came to deliver the checks and present them to the winners. I want to be here. And I'm a little bit disappointed that that's happened at the end.
Organizers say both names were on the winning ticket, but the phone number was McGuinness's. Bernice Curley says when she called to notify the winners, no one answered. So she called the Gaming Commission the next day.
I thought for simplicity reason that maybe if I wrote them each a check, it'd be easier. So I did call Nova Scotia Alcohol and Gaming this morning to make sure that I was allowed to do that, and they were perfectly fine with that. They thought that would be easier for everybody involved. So I split the check evenly and wrote them each a check.
The McGinnis family says Tyrone drove to Marguerite, filled out the ticket, and put his telephone number on it. But his aunt says she put her nephew's name on the ticket only for good luck.
Yeah, he was lucky, but not for $500,000.
You don't think he deserves it?
No, I don't think so.
Both families of the winning ticket left Marguerite in separate vehicles, and the next time they'll see each other could be in court. Gary Mansfield, CBC News, Marguerite.
Well, as the saying goes, one person's trash is another person's treasure, but not here at the Happy Valley Goose Bay landfill. Scavenging has become a problem here, according to the town, and it's looking for ways to crack down. I'll have more on that coming up on Here and Now.
Well, welcome back to Here and Now. As the old saying goes, one person's trash is another person's treasure, but not at the landfill in Happy Valley Goose Bay. The town says scavenging is on the rise, and it's now planning to punish those who are caught. Here and Now's Jacob Barker has that story.
Just glancing at this pile of trash here at the Happy Valley Goose Bay landfill, you can spot a couple of items that seem quite useful, but don't take them home with you. The town says what comes to the landfill must stay in the landfill.
So they'll take whatever whatever they can use. Predominantly, most people are here to gather recyclables.
The town began implementing stricter rules in 2016 after a 6-year-old girl was struck and injured by a loader. Community Constable Gary Bolger says he gets a lot of calls.
Some people will say, there's nothing here to hurt me, or there's no concerns. I'm being careful with what I'm doing, but a lot of them don't realize the risk that's involved with scavenging in a dump site. The hazardous material that they could come across in enclosed garbage bags or wild animals that are in the area, in particular this time of the year.
The town's only power against scavengers is to tell them to leave or ban them from the dump. There isn't much that can be done to stop people from picking through the trash.
Most people are compliant, but we find that some of them are coming back when you're not around.
Soon, Bolger may have a new tool in his belt.
We're in the process now of developing regulations within the town that would allow our municipal enforcement officers to issue tickets to those who are in violation of the town's policy.
The town is putting measures in place now for the safety of the residents, and that's the biggest concern that we have.
The town is working to get that power in place by summer's end. It also wants to keep people from dropping residential waste inside the landfill completely.
We'll have container bins placed at the entrance to the landfill. Household garbage that people bring here will be dropped off at that site.
Pomeroy says those bins could show up later this summer. But in the meantime, anyone thinking about breaking the rules and rummaging through the trash for some hidden treasures better think twice.
Stay away because we'll be watching you.
Jacob Barker, CBC News, Happy Valley Goose Bay.
Two scientists who hail from this province recently recorded billions of tons of ice breaking away from a glacier in Greenland. David and Denise Holland, husband and wife researchers at New York University, just happened to be in the right place at the right time. On June 22nd, Denise, who had set up her video camera just in case, heard a noise that got her out of bed. And Denise and David Holland join us now from New York and from St. John's. Thanks very much for doing this. I'm going to start with you, Denise. We can't hear the sound on your time-lapse video of this glacier breaking off. So can you just describe the sound that got you up that night?
It's a very difficult, thank you very much for taking the time to listen to our story and watch our video. It's a difficult sound to explain. It sounds like extended thunder or a loud sonic boom, and it echoes from one side of the fjord to the other. I knew something was going on because normally you hear little creaks and cracks from the glacier, but this went on for an extended period, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. So I said to David, I'm starting my camera and my video right away. And sure enough, the event happened.
And good thinking for sure, because this is one of the biggest glacier calvings ever recorded, isn't it?
I think so. It's one of the biggest ones, among one of the biggest ones that I've ever seen. And it was quite impressive. It lasted for about 30 to 35 minutes for everything to come off and for the glacier to sort of settle back into equilibrium.
Well, David, let's bring you in here. We've said billions of tons of ice broke away. Just put that in context for us.
Well, the volume of ice is quite impressive. Greenland has a mass balance, if you will, of gaining approximately 300 gigatons per year and losing slightly more. So this was 3% of the entire mass balance of Greenland happening in 30 minutes. It's a very large amount, given it was only 30 minutes.
The video is sped up, but Denise, just how fast was the ice going in real time?
It was coming out pretty quickly, and there was all different kinds of chaos and turbulence happening. There were large tabular icebergs, there were pinnacle icebergs, and they were flipping and calving off, so it was quite impressive. And all that happened over the 30 to 35 minutes.
I'm jealous. That must have been spectacular to see in person. Now, many of the icebergs we get off our coast, they do arrive here from Greenland. Will this massive piece of ice float by us?
I think eventually, yes. These icebergs travel along in the currents along Greenland and Labrador and arrive in Newfoundland. Just last year, Denise and I had a mooring which was lost, and it drifted down perhaps towards Newfoundland, but it was found in Scotland. So things do, from Greenland, things do drift south.
Well, speaking about things being interconnected, what does an event like this mean when it comes to climate change and rising sea levels?
I think the significance is that this is an example of how complicated the climate system is. And I think it speaks volumes to how abrupt things happen, not smooth things, but abrupt changes happen. And in particular, this may not seem obvious, but I think it really speaks to Antarctica, where the scales and the stakes are much higher. And there, we use Greenland kind of, Denise and I, we use it as a kind of a natural laboratory because we can observe real events there, things that happen in Antarctica where sea level change over the century could indeed be significant.
Congratulations on having the foresight to tape this event, which I'm sure scientists everywhere are going to find very useful. Once again, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.
It didn't look real.
No, it didn't, but it's fascinating what
It
the
is
research
fascinating.
they're doing. We said in the intro that they're originally from Newfoundland. They're from St. John's. And guess what they're going to be doing when
What?
David joins Denise, who's already here in St. John's? They're going to run the Telly 10.
Oh.
New whale watching rules mean you can't do this anymore. Snorkel with whales. That made up a chunk of Ocean Quest business. We have reaction next. Time to meet our young athletes of the day. This is 5-year-old Bradley Dumaresque.
He sports number 20 on his jersey for the Red Riders in the Novice AB division in Wabush.
He also plays soccer, softball, and swims. Congratulations, Bradley.
This is Carly Bishop from St. John's.
Carly participates in tap and ballet class at Fusion Dance Studio.
And she also enjoys gymnastics, swimming, skating, and playing Timbits soccer with the Paradise Soccer Club in summer. Congratulations, Carly.
Beautiful dress.
Very nice.
What's not so nice?
The weather, yeah.
But it's not it's going to clear up over the weekend though, isn't it?
It is. You know, we're in for, it looks to be a nice Saturday. The only thing with Chris, this post-tropical storm, is that it's changing the wind direction, and that means things are cooling down a little bit. And so I thought I would start with the current temperatures right now to kind of demonstrate this bit of a cool down. So we're moving into more of a northwesterly wind. So current temperatures right now, we're sitting at 14 degrees in St. John's, 11 in St. Lawrence, 13 in Gander, 11 in Bonavista. So yeah, much cooler than, say, Happy Valley Goose Bay, where it's 21 degrees right now. So things are going to stay a little bit on the cool side dry, but not too bad. And once again, I should mention we do have this rainfall warning still in effect for tonight. The heaviest rain this evening expected in the Gander, Clarenville, Bonavista area. Another 40 to 50 millimeters of rain expected there. So it's not over yet. Another 10 to 20 along the south coast here. And we do have this wind warning in effect for parts of the Avalon. So gusts up to 110 along the coast. So it's going to be breezy, ramping up over the next few hours. Here's a look at Chris leaving us overnight tonight. And then we're in for a lovely Friday. You can see pretty clear skies right across the board for Friday as we head into the weekend. These are the temperatures that we're looking at. That northwesterly wind, 30 gusting to 50 tomorrow. So we're getting up to about a high of 18 degrees in the east. Warmer as you move towards central, 24 degrees in Grand Falls, Windsor, Corner Brook looking really nice too with a mix of sun and cloud. And Labrador is looking fantastic. Some nice hot temperatures in Happy Valley, Goose Bay, 28 degrees as the high there tomorrow, and nice as well in Lab City. So as we move into Saturday, things are looking okay. A little bit on the cool side in some places, and there is a chance of some showers moving in through Labrador West, and you can see these showers kind of lingering there along the coastline. Could move in Saturday evening, but for now we're looking at a mix of sun and cloud in the east and a high of 19 degrees. Central is looking great with sun and cloud and 15, and as well as western Newfoundland. So it's a great Saturday shaping up. And look at these temperatures in eastern Labrador, 30 degrees. And you know, it's going to stay warm there for a bit. Western Labrador, as you can see, the chance of showers there and temperatures at 20 degrees. So Sunday, we are looking at some showers moving through. This is Saturday night into Sunday morning. You can see those showers I mentioned there, and they're over in western Labrador. So Sunday is definitely looking like the wetter day along the south coast and central and the east, and as well for parts of Labrador. So this is the picture for Sunday. So if you have things to do and you're choosing between Saturday or Sunday, you probably want to do it on Saturday. Warming up a bit in the east, 21 degrees with the chance of showers, 25 in central areas with showers, and as well chance of showers in western Labrador. Eastern Labrador, 29 degrees with those chance of showers, and Western Labrador not looking too bad as well. So yeah, here's a snapshot of the next 5 days for St. John's and eastern Newfoundland. You can see Sunday, those showers I mentioned as well, continuing into Monday, starting to clear off on Tuesday. For central Newfoundland, a nice couple of days coming as you begin the work week, 27, 29 degrees. So pretty nice there. For western Newfoundland, similar story as you get into next week. Things are looking pretty nice. Eastern Labrador, 31 degrees on Monday with a mix of sun and cloud and some showers moving in there on Tuesday, and some wet weather coming for Western Labrador as you begin the work week. Debbie?
Thanks, Carolyn. We have a reaction tonight to new whale watching rules brought in yesterday by the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. The rules are designed to give whales a wider berth from boaters.
More and more of an issue where we're seeing more and more problems with harassment from the general public, mostly of people out zooming around whales.
The new rules will require boaters to maintain a 100-meter buffer zone in Atlantic Canada. That distance is 200 meters for orcas. Infractions could result in penalties of up to $100,000. DFO said more fisheries officers will be on the water and in the air to enforce the new regulations. But there are also new rules prohibiting snorkeling near whales, and that's a popular feature offered by Ocean Quest Adventures. The company says it was caught off guard yesterday.
You know, it's unfortunate for us. It's going to hurt the pocketbook. Unfortunately, the timing of this right in the middle of our season, and we have so many bookings for the next 4 to 6 weeks that now we got to consider how we're going to give our customers the money back when we needed this, and this is part of our budget.
It was a surprise. It surprised us for sure, because that was the first we heard about it, and a bit of disappointment.
So came here specifically to swim with humpbacks, and there aren't many places you can do that, and I guess there's one fewer.
I think that they were a little bit surprised. Some were disappointed that they weren't able to get in the water with the whales, but after having a tour out on the water, I think they were a lot more understanding about why the regulations might be in place and what the best practices might be.
And here's today's viewer photo of the day. Beautiful reflection in the water of the sky and the trees. I'll let you know where this photo was taken after the break. Welcome back, everyone. Well, if the thought of car maintenance intimidates you, like it does me,
and me,
not to worry. Mechanic and car enthusiast Kelly Denine is here to steer you in the right direction.
That's right. Over the next few weeks, Kelly will show you how to change a tire, change your wiper blades, and recognize the sights and sounds and even smells that something isn't right with your vehicle.
Tonight, with Tropical Storm Chris bringing rain, she'll tell us about changing your wiper blades.
Hey, today I'm going to show you how to put wiper blades on your car so you can save yourself money and keep yourself safe on the road. I recommend changing your wiper blades every 6 months, usually right before the winter and right before the summer, because they do have a different blade. The winter blades are better in the snow. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to lift up our driver's side blade. Use a small flat top screwdriver to depress the clip that's underneath the wiper right here. Simply depress that with the bottom of your screwdriver and grasp your wiper blade firmly with your left hand. Pull down and remove it. Gently lay the wiper blade back down on your windshield so it doesn't snap back and cause it to break. Next, you pick up your new blade. If you look at the blade, you'll see that there's a curve right here. That's where this fits in. Simply lay it against your wiper arm and with both hands pull up firmly but gently till you hear the snap. Give it a couple of tugs to make sure it's on good and lay it back down on your windshield and you're good to go.
Oh, that sounds
Learned something. Now we know.
I've actually never changed my wipers before. No, me either.
I did not know how to do it.
I'm looking forward to the changing tires one because I don't know how to do that.
That's a good one for sure. All right, so here's our viewer photo of the day we showed you before the break, and it was taken in beautiful Happy Valley Goose Bay along the Churchill River.
Beautiful reflection.
No wind that day. Nope. Barry Hines, thank you so much for sending this in to nlphotos@cbc.ca. Thanks indeed, and thanks to all of you for being with us. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.